99% of people who sell branding won't be really honest about who needs it. So this is a rule of thumb, is if you are less than 20K revenue months, which is about 250K a year, just to round it up. If you are less than 250K revenue a year, you don't want to waste a lot of time or attention on visual aspect of branding. That is a falsehood. You think you're afraid of people hating your content. The reality is that just no one cares. Crickets! You're like, is this thing on? Hello? Yeah, that's the worst fear on the planet, is like to be invisible while you're watching everyone be visible. What I need you to know during this is that you have to be like, this is not about my inspiration or what I freaking feel like doing. This is about a commitment I made to my future self, and that I just have to show up day in, day out. So when you think of modeling someone's voice, you might follow someone on social media. Let's say you like Ed Milet and you like his podcast and you're into all of that and you're like a dude and you're like, this is awesome. I love Ed. I love how he's so into his wife and his faith, and he's always like encouraging, so motivational, like, he just gets riled up, whatever. Let's say you like Ed Milet's voice, right? And you like how he shows up in the world. You can model it for a while, but after 3 to 6 months top, I want you to think of yourself when you learned how to ride a bike. It's training wheels, and the training wheels need to come off, and that's the marker of where you're really at. So at some point, you have to be able to look in the mirror and say, okay, I am not Ed. I used Ed as a model and it was awesome, but it's time for me to become more of me.
If you want to build a legitimate, profitable online business without shiny objects, without the hypey gimmicks, and without the stress and overwhelm, if you want to make more money without having to be present online all day, every day, pumping out content that nobody sees and hustling DMs to generate leads and sales, then this is the place for you. Welcome to the Digital Trailblazer Podcast, your online business university, where you'll learn how ordinary people start from ground zero with no influence, no email list or audience to sell to, and no business or marketing experience, and go from working 9-to-5 jobs to building successful 6- and 7-figure online businesses and all the steps in between. Learn the strategies that worked and what didn't. Learn the mistakes that they made and how to avoid them, and then learn their plans for scaling their businesses and taking things to the next level. All so that you can build your business faster and easier and make more money without sacrificing the things that are important to you in your life. I'm your host, Leah Ray Getz, and with me is my husband, Todd. Now, let's get to it with today's guest. I'm super excited to have with us a branding expert. She is amazing. I love her energy and everything that she's doing. So go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm so happy to be here, Leah. My name is Bijal Patel. If it's hard to say Bijal, which I understand, the name means lightning, you can just call me Queen B. And we have a world-class branding agency launch, and I am down to jam on brand.
So we have a lot of people in our audience who are towards the beginning stages of their journey, right? They're fleshing out their offer, they're fleshing out who they're working with. They're just in that growing and launching stage. I see a few different hiccups that often happens. Either before they do any work, they decide they need to spend thousands and a ton of time on their brand, and they have no idea what they're actually going to end up doing yet, which is a big mistake. But at the same time, it's super duper important, right? And it's something that you need to cultivate and build. So I would love for you just to dive into this topic for our people and really help them understand, like, what does it even mean? When should you get serious about this? And how do you cultivate that?
100%. I totally agree with you, by the way, which like 99% of people who sell branding won't be really honest about who needs it. So this is a rule of thumb, is if you are less than 20K revenue months, which is about 250K a year, just to round it up. If you are less than 250K revenue a year, you don't want to waste a lot of time or attention on visual aspect of branding. And so what is actually important within that sector, people get confused by like the typical things like, oh, I should have like a really nice logo and I have to have my colors all put together and somebody made me some Canva templates and where's my mood board and what does this say about me? And it's like getting so obsessed with like, what does your brand say about you, but you don't know who you are.
Yeah. So true. That's the perfect way to say that.
And the cool thing is like, I love that you're helping people who are starting up. They're putting their packages together. They're putting offers together. That's a great place to spend time, is on your offer, talking to your market. And there will be some personal brand things that we're going to hit on this podcast that are tactical, that you guys can go and implement, that actually do work, and they're for free. They're technically free monetarily, but you're tighter on cash right now and you have more time. But you could implement on a time basis that are just going to give you like outsized returns of where you are right now in business. So I agree with you 100%. There's a basic something you need to do, but it's not what's put out into the marketplace, where a lot of people get swept up by people like Instagram or other brand people trying to sell their products and services, which I understand. But like the league that we're in now, I know that it doesn't really benefit the business owner moving forward when it's not past a certain revenue level.
So let's start with the basics. What are some of the basic things when people are just getting started when it comes to their brand that they need to do?
Okay, so the first thing to think about and to make a decision on, because there's like, I think like even entrepreneurs in later stages, like people like are obsessed with the idea of thinking about stuff. And I want new stage entrepreneurs to stop thinking and start doing.
Yes.
Hi, it's me. 5 years ago, I started my company in 2019. So I'm like not that old in terms of a business. So I don't like, sometimes I laugh. I'm like, I feel like an adolescent, I guess, with business. Because when I talk to people who are 20 years out and stuff like that, I have no idea of the journey that's ahead. So I can remember when it was like 5 years ago. So spend time on what your name is going to be, your brand name, and make a decision on, is it going to be your personal name? Like, is it going to be Bijal Patel? Is it going to be Bijal Patel Design? Or like our company's name is Launch. So what people get hung up in is like the LLC that they register with their state. And that is a formal document of what your business is. So my formal business name is Launch Design, LLC, because obviously the word launch was taken in the state of Texas. And then what you can do is a DBA, doing business as, a really simple form, which I know is crazy, but that you can do simple forms with the government. And then we switched our name to be just called Launch, so it was short. So when we were doing commercial interior design, when I first started the company in 2019, that's what I did for a year, which is like design of hotels and offices and all that cool stuff. A year later, I went into branding, and guess what? Because it was just called Launch, it didn't matter, and I didn't have to change the name. So that's like one place you really want to think about and spend time, but give yourself a little bit of grace that you can at least get your LLC registered. And you can do multiple DBAs until you hit the point where you're really happy with what the name is, because the name creates brand longevity and people start to remember the name. And I've had a lot of owners who come to me a year or 2 years later, and they're like, I hate my name. I don't know what it is. I just don't like it. Mm-hmm. And I just want you to spend some time, but then give yourself a decision point. And I'm going to give you a number. No more than 3 months on this.
Yes.
No more than 3 months.
And yes, just get an LLC together so that you can set up your business accounts. You can do all of the things that you need to actually start generating revenue, but take the time to create the DBA that's going to make sense for you. Because I mean, when I talk to all our entrepreneur friends, I don't know that any of them have like their actual LLC name is their brand name.
You have to get it like perfect. Like, have you ever tried to play putt-putt and you're like, it's like you're waiting for that hole in the one, and like you're like, oh my God, I'm like on hole 16. It's never gonna happen. But like, obviously somebody gets a hole in the one, but like, I just went putt-putt with my son who's 6, and like, I didn't see anybody crushing with your hole in one. So think of it like that, okay? Think of it like that. We're not all getting a hole in ones, but big thing there's a DBA.
For beyond the DBA, beyond what that looks like to get started, like, what other things do we need to start thinking of as you're growing and you're starting to really get things moving?
Great question. I love this question. One thing that is worth the time and attention is, once you figure out what your name is, you want to go on to like a really simple website like Upwork. This is like the only time you're allowed to use Upwork, by the way. It's like the only time I'm going. I still don't like Fiverr, and I still don't like 99 cents or whatever it's called. 99 Designs. looks like 99 cents. Clearly, they know the name. At least Upwork has a better like set of designers. At least spend like $500 to $1,500 on a word mark and get something done for your brand name, just a logo and some type of, or just like a word mark, which is just the name, letters that look fancy, and then an icon. And then at least have like 2 colors, 2, maximum 3. The worst designs I've ever seen is like when someone tries to get cute with it. They got a superhero cape. They want a mascot. They have all these inspiration ideas. This is not your place to shine, design-wise. Like, it's better to have something that looks simpler, that doesn't have an overt taste, because that will actually make you look more legitimate in the space that accidentally getting something over designed. And that's what happens on Upwork. But you do want to spend between $500 and $1,500 to get your logo and brand package done. You want to make sure they give you the actual Adobe Illustrator file. Get your actual file, get your actual font if there's an actual font associated with it, and get them to give you the color codes. So these are things that you're going to need. I can't tell you how many people end up sending us stuff from Upwork down the line, and they're like, I just have a JPEG. Sorry, like the resolution sucks. They don't have the original file. They can't tweak the color if they want to. So you want to get that, and then you want to ask for versions that are all black and all white that have transparent backgrounds, so PNG. So that's why you like people who listening are like, I found a guy to do it for $80. I promise you, we will have to fix your stuff later, and it is worth that differential for that. The second thing that's not related to visual branding, because visual branding is only 10%. It's the decoration on the outside of the cake. So if you see a beautiful wedding cake, it's the outside part. The inside is what 90% of branding that actually matters. Pick one social media platform and post on it once a day, every single day, from any time between the morning times of 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. every single day. Start getting your content out there. Not more than one. Don't be like, I like Facebook and Instagram, Bijal. No. Don't tell me your avatar lives in both. Nope. They might, but you're fishing and staying focused on one. And so this whole concept of going omnipresent before you even shown up to the party, bro, can you just get online before we're starting to be omnipresent? We don't need to be omnipresent. Let's just be singularly like, hi, I'm here today. Roll call. We want.
I second that several times over. We work with that on our clients a lot, is not getting that shiny object, not doing it because other people are doing it, starting your journey one place, focusing in, and really not overwhelming, because there's so many different directions. And I think that a lot of people, that's where they get hit, is because there's infinite directions you can go when you step into the business space. And most of them are right or right-ish, right? And so there's all of these different options, and so they can't. It's difficult often to make a decision because it's completely overwhelming. But staying focused is pivotal to getting some sort of traction somewhere and being able to build upon that into moving into the next stuff.
100%. You mentioned coaching, and I would say that even though we're talking about branding, coaching and investing into the right high ticket coaches who did care about me is the complete difference maker of my business is not only thriving after 5 years, we're kind of crushing it. This is my custom house in the background. We have 3 businesses amongst me and my husband. Our kids are continuing to go to private school. We travel all over the world. I have a solid team of people who work with me. I'm not in the weeds of the day-to-day anymore. And to get to that place, and I say that because you have to know where you're going. It's not about bragging or this or that. It's about painting a picture of what is possible for you. And I remember when I first came into the online space, I was a little bit either intimidated or turned off. Why is that person bragging? Because it's very different than other types of business models. Maybe you come from corporate, maybe you've never had a business before and you're just, momming it up or whatever. This world feels really different. But without a role model, people don't have anyone to follow. So that's why you're showing up on social media every day, getting in with the right coach, digital trailblazer, get in with Lee. I met her. She's amazing. She really cares. She's a great energy in the room that we met with. This is why I agreed to hop on her podcast with you. is having somebody like that and you're staying with them along the haul. I've had my first mentor we're like on 4 years plus at this point in time. And so we have a really, really strong relationship. And because of that, I've had so many other doors open up. And I have multiple mentors. I don't recommend this at the beginning though, but once you evolve in your journey, that makes sense. But the mistake a lot of entrepreneurs make, especially early start ones, is by trying to just read books, trying to just watch YouTube. I love Alex and Layla Hormozi like the best of them, but you are not them. Stop binging their content. They do not have the map they do not have the map for startup entrepreneurs. Like, you need help that's customized to your business and accountability about why are you getting in your own way. You need someone to be able to see over your shoulder and Sherpa you up the side of this mountain. So this whole like TikTok, a bunch of reels, all this stuff, for a while with my brand, I refused to publish that type of content because I was like, this is misleading to people. If people want real branding help, they need to actually hire us. So just putting that out there, this point in my business, 5 years in, I have spent over $300K in coaching and mentors and events, over $300K. And I have ROI. I've gotten a return on my investment on every single one. So there is no, it's your fault. Oh, I didn't like this. Oh, the program was so-and-so. Nope. I fit into where the environment is and I make it work. So you get in what you put out. So I highly recommend that if this podcast is resonating with you, don't just keep listening to free content. It's great to get things started. But if you really want to accelerate your business and move ahead and have the needle move, you need to hop on a call and you need to make an investment in yourself. It's the best investment you can ever make, is an investment in yourself and your business.
We've seen this time and time again in our business, in our clients' businesses, with all of our friends and entrepreneurs, that in order, like, it's every big breakthrough, right? Every big breakthrough that comes, it's from that coach. It's from that program. It's from taking that next step up. And I haven't calculated it, but I would imagine we're right around that same amount that we've invested in our business. But I mean, absolutely way more ROI, hands down, than even the amount we've spent in total versus the amount we make in a year. So that's how you grow. Like, that's how you get there. So yes, I think 100%. So, okay, people, they get kind of the basics down, right? Now, walk me through the next steps.
The next step is the hardest step in the journey because, like, the beginning is fun. Everything in the beginning is fun. Variety is the spice of life. Ooh, it's new. Let's go. I invested. Look at my brand. This is cool. Look at the things I'm doing. And then the next step is just doing it. Mm-hmm. How boring is that? How boring is it to find your voice on social media and just show up day in, day out when you don't have a consistent following, to have the likes or have the engagements? Here's a common misconception. I'm going to get online and, like, people are going to throw hate on me. I'm going to get haters and that's going to be tough because, like, what if people hate my content? That is a falsehood. You think you're afraid of people hating your content. The reality is that just no one cares. Crickets! You're like, is this thing on? Hello? Yeah, that's the worst year on the planet, is like to be invisible while you're watching everyone be visible. What I need you to know during this is that you have to be like, this is not about my inspiration or what I really feel like doing. This is about a commitment I made to my future self, and that I just have to show up day in, day out. That part of the process is really tough because for most business owners who want to do this kind of thing, they're visionary minded. So they love ideas, big picture thinking, like everything that creates the dopamine and excitement. And there's a long time that nothing happens and no one cares because you haven't developed what we call at launch your empowered voice. When you get to develop your empowered voice, I know you sense it from, like, the way I'm speaking on this podcast and you're listening to me. You can tell a couple of things from how I'm speaking. One, I genuinely care about you winning and you succeed in your next step here. You're like, all right, this feels like keeping it real. She's telling us what I need to know. She's giving us some tactical stuff, but she's also no BS. There is nothing about me that is here to fawn or pretend something is important. Number 2 is you can tell my level of certainty in who I am and what I do is really high. Not developed overnight. That's practiced. I've been on like probably hundreds of like speaking engagements / podcasts / throwing your own events at this point in time. So the practice of speaking is what makes you better, not thinking about speaking, not watching me and Leah talk. Like it's not watching Layla Hermosi. Like you can do all of that, but it's more of you wanting to absorb and receive than it is for you to be able to get out and practice. So, and then number 3 is that when you get that sense of certainty, you're probably starting to feel a lift in your energy because you're starting to think about like, this could be possible for me too. And I think that is really, really important when you're thinking about your business and branding is that middle. It's almost like you're in a lake and they didn't give you a little life jacket and you're right in the middle. You have a decision today. Like the comfort part of you thinks that like if you're right in the middle, if you swim back, a part of you believes you're safer because you've already journeyed that first half. But if you were equidistant and there was no difference in like any of the other like wave conditions or, what, there's no like looming, Loch Ness monster going on or whatever, and like it was equidistant, it's important that you pick the path ahead, even if you don't know what's there. So your energy level and your ability to what I call exercise is one of our launch's core behaviors, which is what we help our clients to use, define their core values, expand them to core behaviors. One of ours is called consistent discipline. Consistent discipline means you do the same thing every day, consistent. It might be boring sometimes, and boring is good. It's taken me a long time. I'm a varietyist by fetting out. Number 2 is discipline. Discipline is when you make a decision, you actually commit to the decision. And if you do it on days that you're supposed to do it, you get 1 point. If you do it on days you don't feel like doing it, you get 2 points. Discipline is you do it whether you feel like it or not. And so what I just invite you to do is exercise that consistent discipline to make sure you journey across the other half of the lake. I promise you, I've helped hundreds of successful small business owners turn into brands. And that consistent discipline will eventually, you will catch the lessons of what is your content that creates attention, creates authority and visibility, so your offers start to sell.
So with going through this process, finding that brand voice, is that what you call the brand voice, or was there something else I missed?
We call it our empowered voice, finding your empowered voice, but brand voice is absolutely a term that a lot of people use.
Okay, perfect. So your empowered voice, now you're able, like, is this when you like double down on content? Is this where you like where do you take it from there?
When you're finding your empowered voice, it takes a few different things to kind of build up what it takes to get there. But the very first thing is the ability to show up and experiment. And the idea of experimentation can be really scary, especially when you're starting out new, is you're looking to model someone else. And I do actually recommend that. I think you should pick 1 or 2 people's content you like to get started. But I want you to be aware that modeling someone else's content, which the whole internet marketing world loves, so what a quote-unquote funnel hack, I'm not down with that. I'm a super authentic person, and I believe in the concept of owning your brand. So we have a podcast also. It's called Own Your Brand. And what that means is I don't want you to sound like me. Like when our coaching clients come in, it's a part of our process. I was like, you might be attracted to my personality, my strength, like how I'm just out like it is kind of person, really bold. But that if you like parts of it and they're within you, borrow elements, but then let's round it out to be who you are meant to be. Who are you uniquely meant to be? So when you think of modeling someone's voice, you might follow someone on social media. Let's say you like Ed Milet and you like his podcast and you're into all of that. And you're like a dude and you're like, this is awesome. I love Ed. I love how he's so into his wife and his faith. And he's always like encouraging, so motivational. Like, he just gets riled up, whatever. Let's say you like Ed Milet's voice, right? And you like how he shows up in the world. You can model it for a while, But after 3 to 6 months top, I want you to think of yourself when you learned how to ride a bike. If you don't know how to ride a bike, you're still going to get the analogy, so stay with me. It's training wheels, and the training wheels need to come off, and that's the marker of where you're really at. So at some point, you have to be able to look in the mirror and say, okay, I am not Ed. I used Ed as a model, and it was awesome, but it's time for me to become more of me. I need to own who I am, and that takes a lot of deep exploration. It takes deep work. It takes coaching. It takes branding. It takes healing your childhood wounds. Like, it takes a lot to get to the self-awareness level. And a lot of people think it's a tactic. It's not a tactic. It's not like, show me how to do this. It's like, hey, when's the last time you've actually sat with yourself and really known you? Do you know you? Do you know what you want? Is a business just to make money? I promise you'll get over that, because the money will come. The money will come, and then you will be bored. So at the beginning, you're like, I can't wait. I'm going to crush it. We're going to have 100K months. We're just going to travel. We're going to get Airbnbs and the sushi up. Or like, and then you're like, wow, this is like really boring. Like, the airport's still the airport. The sushi in Miami tastes like the sushi in Las Vegas. And here I am. And this Airbnb internet is slow, you know? And so you will get to the point. I know you may not believe me. I will take that on. I will take you on. That is not where it's at. You have to find what your bigger vision is. And through all of that self-development work, that's where your voice comes out.
So with that voice and the journey, and I will say for us, what you kind of laid out as the journey and finding that voice is pretty much exactly what we followed. Like that, just naturally over the years, getting started, just kind of doing what people are doing, right? And then through that process, figuring out our own stuff, figuring out what really resonated, taking what worked, and building upon it based with our personality and our core values and who we are and our energy levels and all of that stuff. So that is a beautiful journey that you've mapped out and absolutely works. Clearly for your clients, it's essentially what we followed as well. So I think that makes a lot of sense. So having that brand voice, how does that translate or impact the brand or the brand image, if you will?
Oh, I love that. Great question. So most of the words that we actually compute, actually, let me ask you this, Leah. Mm-hmm. What percentage do you think tone of voice affects people's comprehension level of the words you said?
Oh, crazy high.
It's close to, like, it is high, but it's closer to like 65 to 70% is the way people receive the message is from how it sounds, the tone of voice. So if you think about a child and how you change your tone of voice with the child to kind of adjust to deliver your message better, or if you have a sensitive situation and you're trying to get your point across, you'll notice you'll automatically do it because you've been trained. So the tone of voice is how it sounds. That's about how 70% of your messaging is going to be received, whether it's spoken and verbal, like in a video format or an audio format, like a podcast, or even if it's written, people are reading your words and the way you use punctuation and capitalization and the word choice you have, they're reading it with a tone. And so that matters over messaging, which is the actual word choice that was selected. So when it comes to thinking about what is your tone of voice and how does it actually end up affecting things, you want to think about when you're looking at the people whose content you enjoy and who you're attracted to. This is going to be totally different than what most brand people might say. It's not finding people that you just like and you're like, oh, they're like me. I feel like I'm like them. Like we're similar. That's one approach. But another approach that works really well is investigating whose tone of voice might be opposite of yours and like what's that opposites attract. Mm-hmm. So I honestly have a very strong voice. I have a very strong. I can't even whisper actually. Like I have like a volume issue. I think I've gone deaf from how loud I am. Like my mouth distance to my ears probably like 4 inches. So I think I've gone deaf. So I'm just like, I was built loud. So even my whisper is like, hey, man, I would even feel like it's just, I don't know, just curious, right? And some of us have that. And the thing is, I attract people to join our programs a lot of times who have a very opposite personality, right? They might be a little bit sheepish, maybe they're way more quiet, they're a lot more introverted. They're afraid of being bold because they're like, well, I don't know what people are going to think about me, to be honest. And I don't want to offend people. I want to make sure I'm kind-hearted. They've got all their reasons, but it's almost like a polar opposite. So when you're thinking about that tone of voice, you want to play with two extremes. You want the ends of a magnet, positive and negative. So you want to be like you a lot, and kind of mirror and find a voice that sounds like yours so you can emulate what voice you want to carry. And then you want to pick somebody who's opposite of you, but for some reason you're just magnetically attracted to them. Mm-hmm. Apparently, a lot of my friends are introverts. I just noticed. And I was like, what are all these introvert friends? Well, you know why? They need an extrovert and I need an introvert. My introvert friends, they listen to everything. They got me all locked. They're filling up their, we're helping me refill my cup. They're giving me the words of affirmation. They like to listen. I like to talk. It works out. They read. I want to hear about what they read. I read too, but I'm just joking. But there's this polar opposite sort of attraction. They're very thoughtful in their thought process. So I'm just using that as an example of when you're looking for voice, try to go to the extremes of the spectrum. What is just like you, amplify that, and then what is the absolute opposite.
And so when you're looking at the absolute opposite, are you studying it and trying to see what parts of that really attract you and try to implement that?
Yes. So I have this thing. So obviously I've been using my normal tone of voice this entire time. But when I'm giving a really good talk and there's people in the audience and I love just speaking live. I love that because I love the energy in the room. I will get up in there and be like, are you willing to let your prospect die in that burning building? Just say yes. Let me know that you are ready to let them burn. Say it. Challenge. Then I'll be like, or what would it look like if it were possible for you to get in touch with your soul-driven purpose of why you were put on this planet so you can help the people that you truly care about impacting? What could you stand to gain? What could the world stand to gain from the impact that you make in your life when you don't side with self-doubt and you pick the position that's scary as heck, but you just jump without knowing what's going to happen because you know somewhere in your body that you were meant to do this. That's the feminine voice. So that's the nurturer.
Yep.
I slow down the tone and I go to the extreme of I'm calling you up. I'm antagonizing you. You're a little bit I'm annoyed because you're right. You're right. It's so annoying, but get out of my face. Why do you keep challenging me? I feel like you're antagonizing me. Yes, I am. But then I'm chill. Feminine energy mode, nurture. What could it look like? And then you're man, she's on my side. She really wants me to win. Man, I feel it. She really cares. That's a difference maker. And it's very, very, very true to my personality. My personal brand is known as an intersection of tough love meets your biggest cheerleader. Mm-hmm. I'm both ends. I'm very much on the extremes of the yin yang. So I found that for myself. And I've also, received feedback on that. Mm-hmm. People have been hey, I love Queen Bee, tough love. Here we go. She's going to say something spicy. But man, when you just slow down that moment and you just will be soft and you were vulnerable and you were feminine, man, you could move mountains with that. So I've been given a lot of feedback at this point in time. Does that make sense?
Yes. No, that's beautiful. I love that. And such a great example. So as you're honing the voice, you're doing all these pieces, is there anything that's higher level stuff that you don't touch this until you're here?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, we should talk about that too. So once you're past 50K revenue months, usually most of our clients are in our top tier program, which is called Brand Influencer, where we do the full package. We do everything from the actual strategy, the mission, the vision, the core values. What is your tagline? What's your messaging? What's your positioning? What are your brand hopes? What should you be doing content about? And then we do literally all the visuals. So primary logo, secondary logo, social media buttons, social media banners, your branded photography. What should that look like? Your fonts, your colors, like licensed to you, not like Becky Homecty. I just graduated from Canva University, not that, where we take ourselves a little bit seriously. And so we work with established entrepreneurs. Most of the time, they're like right at 7 figures or they're beyond. A lot of them are at multi-7 figures in revenue. They're 8-figure, multi-8, or they have multiple businesses at this point. Mm-hmm. When you get to that point, around 50K revenue marks, you'll start to notice that what worked when you first got started, like with the 10K month, 5K months, 20K months, that kind of thing, you've outgrown it, but you didn't stop and realize that that identity is like no longer you. It served you really well while you bootstrapped yourself forward, but you kind of need to let that go so you can grow into the future version of yourself. So at that stage, you're ready for like a world-class agency like ours, or someone who really knows what they're doing, to be able to look at your brand, look at the name again if you no longer feel aligned with it, look at the active strategy, go really 100 foot deep on like, what are your offers? At that point, you have an offer stack. What are your ideal client profiles, which is also called ideal client avatars? What are the different versions of that? So we want to know ideal client profile number 1, 2, and 3. And then we want to know who are we negating away from ICP4s, people that we don't ever want to do business with. So we're getting the messaging really clear and dialed in because we're looking to create a brand that has cohesion. Everything should feel cohesive and coherent across every platform, every social media post that you do, email marketing, campaigns, funnels, website, content, graphics, you name it, the voice and the brand, everything should feel in alignment. So people at that stage are like, why does everything I have look like a hot mess? Like our funnels look, the amount of funnels I've seen look terrible. Our funnels look terrible. My book is named this random thing. What should I call my podcast? I thought it'd be cool if I called it this, but no one knows what I'm talking about here. Then we had these couple offers, but I don't know if I should say all the same stuff on one platform because I think I'm confusing everyone and I'm speaking to different levels. At that point, you're looking for a brand revamp and a reposition. And at that point, you need to redo. Your logo doesn't look good from Upwork anymore. You have way outgrown that, like a pair of shoes as a child. And your website probably sucks too, including not just the visuals, your copywriting. I can't tell you, we review so many people's brands just to do brand audits with them. And I'll like look at their website and I'm like, that's amazing that you make this much revenue. Wow, like with this? And they're like, yeah, they're like super proud. I'm like, wait for it. Do you know how much money you're leaving on the table with people who are leaving because they think that you're illegitimate? And people are like, I was like, yeah, you don't warm audience who already trusts you. They will buy from you. They don't judge the book by the cover. They don't care. Mm-hmm. Well, most of your audience doesn't trust you and isn't going to just hand you over 5, 10, 20, 50K for a high ticket. They are going to judge a book by its cover. It's actually subconscious programming. They judge you without you even knowing it. They absolutely do care. That's why big corporate companies spend billions of dollars on branding. It actually matters. So the people on the other end, what they stand to risk is that they've outgrown something, but they haven't let it go to step into their new future.
That's so, I think, important for people to understand and not compare. If you're at the beginning, keep your blinders on and do the beginning stuff.
Yep.
Right. But as you start to grow and develop, you have to start adjusting because you will stagnate or your growth will be hampered if you don't learn to adjust and take it to that next level and create that cohesive brand where everything makes sense. It's a big theme for Todd and I with our program, with our clients, is to create a holistic approach to their business. And there's not just like this one strategy or this one thing, but a really solid foundation that you can build upon. So I love what you're saying when it comes to having sort of a holistic brand approach, if you will.
Yeah, I love that. I totally concur with what you're saying.
So I'm sure everyone now who's listening is really interested in you and what you do and everything else. So where should they find you?
Oh, for sure. I am most active on Facebook and secondarily on Instagram. The handle is the same. It's Bijal, Bijal.watch. So same handle, come follow me. You'll be entertained by the content. It's definitely not all about branding because, oh my gosh, I'd be bored with my life. Yeah, come follow me, hit me up, say hello in the DMs. I'd love to know that you found me on Digital Trailblazer, which is a fire name, by the way, for a podcast. I think I told you that when we met. I was like, I love the name. I'm obsessed. Yeah, that's where they can find me. If they want to hear or see more about our branding stuff, they can go to our website, www.welaunch.design.
Love it. Okay. And do you have a freebie for the audience?
I do. If you go to that website, www.welaunch.design, there's actually a free brand tone of voice quiz. So you can take that. It's just a few minutes, and then you'll actually see what category of tone of voice you fall in. And it's actually really, really accurate. I've had hundreds of people take it at this point in time, just from different events and things like that. And I've gotten actual feedback from them, and they're like, wow, that really resonates. So take that. You end up getting a report. There's a video of me explaining what that actually means, and you get a PDF report. And then that really helps you give you some sense of like, wait, which type am I? You know, like there's a sleep chronotypes, like, am I a bear? Am I a dolphin? So it gets you going in the direction.
That's wonderful. So everyone go check that out. We'll have the show notes. In the show notes and description, we'll have the links to everything that we just talked about. Go check her out. She's obviously awesome. I think this has been a game changer conversation probably for a lot of our audience. We really appreciate you.
Thanks for having me. Great questions. I love you, Leah. Thanks for letting me speak love into your audience. And I can't wait to see all you guys grow. Keep crushing it. Remember, your number one mission is to not die on your entrepreneurial journey. If you do that every day, you're winning in my book.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. You've been listening to the Digital Trailblazer podcast. For show notes and information about today's guest, head to digitaltrailblazer.com. Now, if you love this episode, if you got some value, make sure you leave us a review and subscribe. And be sure to share this episode with anyone you know who could use help to build their business. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.